Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the next video in my kind of like my tutorial series on, just how to do some predator skin or some, just skin in general, reptilian skin. You can apply the same techniques for human skin. Um, Last video I did the veining, the blue veining, and as you can see now that it sitting has been sitting for a day, you can already see that it kind of looks way more natural now that it's dry. Not working on it anymore. um, it's just overall just, yeah, just very very nice, simple addition to the skin that we're later going to bury, um, and make look even more natural. In this video, I would like to just try and add some shadows to the muscle definition so that you can kind of, get more definition in the muscles and just the wrinkles of the skin and stuff like that. And this is a Naren sculpted piece, or a Naren sculpted torso. So Naren always just has so much detail in his sculpts, and he just adds wrinkles, bumps, muscle definition. You can see the rib cage coming through, um, and the sculpt really helps out a lot by just helping you out to kind of tell you where details need to go. And even if you're just, if you think like, okay, I'm a little bit more intimidated by adding shadows uh on something that looks really cool, you could get away with this. The sculpt shows all the detail, and the way that I painted it, you can see all the details, even without the shadows. But I still want to do a little bit of shadow, just add a little bit more kind of, kind of vibrance, or just mix it up a little bit more. So, I'm just gonna try and do that. Again, warning: this is this piece. I might mess it up. I might not mess it up. I don't know. I'm just doing. I just record as I go along, and you see me make mistakes and try to fix them, and that's all fine and good. So for this, I'm gonna use my airbrush, the Badger. I finally got my lids, which allows me to mix paints and not throw it away, which happens a lot. So first, what you want to look at is, okay, it's more like a sand yellow kind of color. What would work best for shadows? And what I always do is I'm just gonna look at the type of paints that I have. Let me adjust the camera a little bit. Is this gonna work for a shadow? And the initial first base layer that I did is shifted in color, so I can't use a darkened base layer color because the color has shifted so much. Um, but oh yeah, mustard yellow. I think I used mustard yellow, didn't I? I can't remember, but it's definitely close to the color that the model has right now. So could be a good starting point. I always like to use a little bit of brown to darken a color. I don't use black a lot to darken a color because it immediately becomes this, very dark sludge, and I don't want that. Brown is, for me, has my preference of darkening a color. It kind of depends on the color, of obviously, but for this, um, Russian sand is also a very nice color. Um, I just want to stay close to the color I already have, and then work my way up. Basically, if I find that the color is a little bit too light to be shadow, I can always add a little bit more and darken it a little bit more and work my way up. It's just think ahead before you just grab a paintball and just start spraying. Just go through the steps to kind of determine where you want to go with it. This will just help you out a lot in the entire process. Just think about where you want to go. Early sand yellow, nope. Sand yellow, that might have been the base color for it looking at it now, but I'm not sure. But it's a very good start, and so we're gonna darken that with brown. I think it's just brown. Yeah. Number 2 brown from AK Interactive, and this is actually a paint for their what's it called? Armed Forces something something. Oh yeah, armored vehicles, armored fighting vehicle series. I think that's what the series is called. I'm an absolute fan of AK Interactive. I think they have very good paints. Like for example, Vallejo paints tend to dry a little bit darker. So you put them on, and then once they dry, they turn out a little bit darker. I don't like that at all. Honestly, this is the color I want, and this is the color I want it to end up as once it dries, and not have it darken. I think that is. I don't know why Vallejo paints do that, but AK Interactive paints definitely don't. And maybe it has to do with the application, whether or not you're applying it with the airbrush or with a regular brush. But for me, these paints do not darken once they dry. So also another reason why I don't really gravitate to Vallejo paints. It's just so I don't know. It just doesn't flow like I want it. It doesn't dry like I want it. So that's why I stick to what I know. AK Interactive works so very well for me. So I'm kind of like I don't know. OCD with that kind of stuff, and I do try to switch it up. But like for example, this is a paint that was sent to me by my friend John from Canada. It's Apple Barrel. It is. I cannot get this paint where I'm from. I have to, if I want this paint, I have to order it overseas. Then it costs a lot of shipping, so it's almost not worth it to buy the paint in the first place. It just makes it very, very expensive. But John sent me this because he was watching another painter use it for the spot patterns. And he bought a couple of bottles, and he was like, "Hey, dude, I got a couple bottles. Do you want one to try it out?" So I was like, "Yeah, sure, man. I mean, I'm always open to that kind of stuff." So this is more like a craft paint. Um, so I'm gonna try and use this once I'm at the stage where I can start doing the dot patterns. But yeah, I'm open to new stuff and other brands. But so far for airbrushing and just for what I'm doing right now, AK Interactive is just a miracle of a paint. It just flows so nice. It mixes very well. So yeah, that's just me on a ramble about paints. I just really love their color as well. I'm just gonna put 5, 6, 7, 8 drops or something, and then I'm gonna take some thinner. Also eight drops, something along those lines. And then I'm gonna. There's also again Vallejo. Fix your bottles. Like when I'm using this, it's a dropper bottle. I can precisely drop in the amount of drops that I want. So 8 drops will easily let me do this. Then I use Vallejo, and it's not a dropper bottle. It's like one of these, and it just sprays in so much, way more than I actually want to. It's very frustrating. I'm like, Vallejo is like everybody knows Vallejo paints. Everybody in the modeling hobby knows Vallejo paints. Why are they so stubborn to sticking with their kind of what they want to do with? It's just frustrating. Absolute nightmare of a brand, I'm telling you. But they do have very good primers. Their primer is probably the best primer there is. It levels exceptionally well. It mixes very well. It flows very well. It dries very well. Their primer is probably one of the best, if not the best. But their other mediums, it's the flow improver that I use from them. Very It works very well. I hardly get any dry tip, if at all. And it mixes very well. It's just their paint is just, I don't know. I don't like it at all. I'm sorry, but I don't know why everybody's so Vallejo minded. If that makes sense. So okay, we got this almost like the base color, and I want to darken it now. So we're gonna mix with the brown. Oh. I know mixing paint is not the most exciting thing of this kind of process, but I just want to show you guys how easy it is, and it doesn't have to be intimidating at all. Okay, I want a little bit more water in there. I usually don't like to use a lot of water when thinning paints and stuff, but for mixing, it actually works really well. Yep. Alright, so we got a very large chest bicep right here. That's the obvious kind of place where you want to start. So you're just gently gonna go over those deep areas. And you can already see, now it's a little bit wet right now. Just want to follow those lines. Follow the lines. And don't worry if you think that you created a little bit of overspray. That's what we use when you spray. For example, this is overspray when you want to spray the body, but you get a little bit of spray on the armor. That's called overspray. Don't freak out when you, because we're gonna blend it all together. It's just the shadows are gonna be subtle. They're gonna be visible. They're gonna be there, but they're gonna be subtle. Gonna turn down the airbrush a little bit. Getting a little bit of blowback. And here's a handy tip that I could give you is if the paint is still a little bit wet and you want to see how it turns out, use the airbrush and just blow some air without the paint, blow some air against it and help it dry a little bit faster. You just want to go over all of those lower spots to kind of define, and it's real subtle. On camera it's even way more subtle than it actually is, but you start seeing the muscle definition now. And we're gonna define it even more by making the more raised areas a little bit brighter than the color that it currently is, and that will give even more definition. So the shadows is just one small part of the entire thing. Here's a skin wrinkle. Just check for little inconsistencies, go back and forth. And now you can see it's real subtle, but you can already see. And don't worry if it looks a little bit out of place, or if you think like, wow, okay, that didn't turn out the way I thought it would, or the fade out effect is a little bit too big. Don't worry, we're gonna blend it all together. And here there are a few little muscle areas. And in a few areas, I went over the veining, and you can see that the veining is hardly affected by that really thin layer of shadow. So the veining will still be visible, and as well as all the other details. That's why I think it's important to use the airbrush. The airbrush puts down real thin layers, and if you thinned it correctly, um, you won't ruin the layers underneath. Basically, that's kind of like the entire idea of this tutorial series. Basically, is to show you that less is more. Uh, you know, thinning your paints, do this real gentle airbrushing techniques. Now I want to go on the side of the armor, because that is also kind of like where a shadow would collect. I'm getting a lot of moisture. Maybe it's thinned a little bit too much. The moisture actually kind of helps me fan out that the paint a little bit. And lately, I've seen a lot of discussion in various Facebook groups where people are complaining about their cheaper airbrushes not working correctly, parts breaking, and stuff like that. And then people get the criticism of you should have bought a branded airbrush, which is a little bit more expensive. Then you wouldn't have these kind of issues. And people sometimes forget that having the proper tools helps out a lot, even if you're a beginner. Putting down the money to learn something with a proper tool that has been designed for what you want to learn is going to help you out. If you learn something using um, a cheap tool, then you're not gonna reach your full potential. I truly believe that. I believe putting down the money for a proper airbrush, a proper branded airbrush, with a lifetime warranty, for example, Badger. This is a Badger, the Sotar 2020. It has a lifetime warranty. If something breaks, I can send it back to the factory. They will fix it for me, and the only thing that I have to pay is the shipping. Now I'm in Europe, so sending this to the USA is almost not worth it. So what I can do is I can buy the parts separately and fix it myself. But if it turns out to be something that I cannot fix myself, I always have the lifetime warranty. That's something you don't see in cheap airbrushes. That's just a fact of life. And this airbrush, um, I'm every time I use it, I'm so surprised by its performance, and it does everything very well. The same goes for the other airbrushes that I showed you. they just put down paint really well. And um, I don't want to have to, when I learn something new, I don't want to have to fight the equipment. I want the equipment to be working right off the bat. I don't want to have to tweak it and take it apart completely, put it back together, lube it up, all that stuff. Um, I don't want to have to constantly fight with the airbrush, and this is what happens when you buy a cheap airbrush. So I think that using the proper equipment will help you out so much. And honestly, I cannot stress this enough. When you're gonna buy a house and you have to, you're building a new kitchen, yeah, you're not gonna cheap out on the equipment. You're gonna use proper equipment that's gonna last throughout the build, and it's gonna, do its job correctly as it should be. You're not gonna cheap out, and that's the same thing for the hobby. For the model hobby, is you want to use proper equipment, you want to use proper supplies. Is all I can say. Is for the price that I'm putting down for an airbrush like this, um, and if I look at what people have to do and have to buy to fix their cheap airbrush, I'm like, for that type of money that you put down, you could buy three of these. Like, just they constantly fight the equipment that they're using, and it's such a shame. And I just cannot stress this enough. Is like invest in the tools that you use, and your learning process will be so much easier and so much more enjoyable. And the first type of airbrushes that I bought were also cheaper airbrushes, and I was constantly fighting the settings, and constantly fighting the airbrush itself, and constantly fiddling around with air pressure and stuff like that, and paint thickness and stuff like that. This airbrush, I'm telling you, I'm not even using a proper compressor. I'm using um, I'm using a Chinese branded USB chargeable cordless airbrush compressor. It's got like 15 to 20 working psi, and this is what I've done with it. And when I hook it up to a cheap airbrush, it's not gonna spray paint. And when I hook it up to my more expensive airbrushes, this is what I can do with it. And I've got the Mac valve that lets me control the air pressure that goes into the airbrush. And I have that almost turned down all the way, and I'm painting with it. So I don't have to fight the equipment, and that is why you pay $200 or $300, and your learning experience will just be so much more pleasant. And I'm learning as I go, uh, as well for video making, as well as painting. I don't know if I can, if I gonna succeed when I paint these shadows. Like I said, you've seen my process on how I decide my shadow colors, and you know I don't know if it's gonna work out. I'm just trying, and so I'm a beginner as well, and I'm learning as I go along, and I learn from watching other people. But one thing I don't cheap out on is cheap equipment, because that is what I have to use to do the job. So, just a short little ramble on equipment use, but I've seen so many people cheap out on airbrushes and then go on Facebook or go on YouTube in the YouTube comments, and they're having problems, and it's just such a shame. You could have avoided all that trouble by buying a more expensive airbrush. And I'm a beginner argument. That's not a good argument. If you can't put down the money to buy something like this, just wait a month. Put down the money that you do have, set it aside, wait a month, and then buy it. If I want to buy one of these airbrushes, I have to save up 2 months of money. I can't do it right now. I don't have the money, just laying around. I'll have to save for it, and that goes for every kind of that goes for everything. If I want to advance my kind of process, if I want to expand my tools, I'll have to save up some money for it. And I've had this airbrush for a while. I actually have two of them. Um, I've had this for a while, and it has never not performed. It has always done its job. It's such a beautiful airbrush, and it puts down like you've seen me do. It puts down pencil sharp lines like that with absolutely minimal airbrusher. So just me rambling on, just some raw thoughts. I'm sorry. If you want, you can go down in the description and skip all of this. But all right. I am going to use. I think I'm gonna go a little bit darker, but not. I'm not gonna do the redo the entire thing, but I'm gonna add a little bit of darkness. So because I think I'm gonna do. Yeah, I'm gonna use the same brown and just add it straight to the pot. That's 2 drops. I also want 2 drops of thinner, so 1-to-1 ratio, and that should be enough. Now, in order to mix this properly, I'm going to put down the needle guard, the needle protector. Oh, poke up the air, obviously. I'm gonna back flush the paint first, and then I'm gonna use a small brush and gently stir it, mix it up gently. You don't want to damage the needle, you don't want to put a lot of pressure on there. Just stir it up. Alright, so we got, it's much darker now. No, I say that, but oh yeah, yep, there it is. So, alright, I'm gonna add just a little bit of a darker color in the deepest recesses. And don't be alarmed, it's gonna jump out immediately. So I'm just making it a little bit darker. Don't be alarmed to if it's immediately gonna jump out at you. We're gonna blend it. I'm gonna turn up the air pressure a little bit. I'm just gonna just really gently I'm already kind of blending it a little bit by creating a fade effect, or I don't know how you kind of explain it, but just fading that out a little bit. I mean to kind of consider that I started painting predators completely with a brush, and since I've switched to a combination of brush and airbrush, just given me access to so many new techniques, different techniques, things that I would probably need twice as much time on if I had to paint it with a regular brush. Whoops. So here I made an oopsie, and I could use that to my advantage and make something up, or but I'm just gonna use a little bit cleaner and just gonna soften that mistake. That way it looks like more like an inconsistency in the skin rather than a mistake. There it is. So now we're getting so much more muscle definition, and by doing a little bit of distance, I'm already kind of blending that just to soften it a little bit. And while I'm at it, I want a darker color in the back so that it goes from dark to a light skin tone. That's the next step that we're gonna do. And while I have this color, I'm just gonna use it to darken the back. So basically everywhere there are bumps, I want it to be a little bit darker. And it's real easy. You just noodle it, just like all the other layers that we've done. And then to kind of make sure that it's fading, you can take your distance and spray a little bit at an angle, and you faded that nicely into a lighter color. Look at how natural that kind of looks. And I want this to look patchy. That's not by mistake. Because I'm gonna use an even darker color. I think I'm gonna just use brown. Because in the back he's got all these bumps, and that's basically uh, the natural camouflage of the predator skin. So even without their kind of camouflage, the camouflaging technology, they still, like, with the help of their skin color, they can blend into the environment. Is, natural predators have a dark side and a light side, and usually the belly is light and their back is dark. Um, so you kind of want to use that same kind of idea for the predator. So if this is shaded now, and um, we're gonna go for the back. I think I'm gonna end the video after I've darkened the back, and then continue on with the blending of the entire thing. I also still need to add the red veining. I should have done that a little bit sooner, but I wasn't sure if I want to do that. Um, but the blending will be in the next video, and then we can also move on to the spot patterns, the dot patterns, basically. It's a very intimidating, intimidating step in the painting process that a lot of people have issues with. It's hard to get right, but it's probably one of the more requested, or the more probably the most asked questions, how to get a natural kind of flow for the dot pattern. And I'm telling you, I'm probably not the right person to teach it to you, but I can kind of learn with you, because I have problems with that as well. It's just absolutely not my favorite thing to do. It's absolutely the hardest thing to kind of get right, to make look natural. So it's going to be a learning video for me as well. Clean out the airbrush. I'm just going to clean it out and completely. It's just the thing I do whenever I switch paints. I'm just going to clean it well. So now we're going to transition to the same brown that we've used to darken the other color, and we're just going to go straight. We just need a few little drops, nothing more. All right. We're just gonna noodle that onto the darker areas. Just random. Oh, I was out of frame. Sorry, guys. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna spray that. You're gonna noodle that just like the other technique. There are spots that you think that should be blended a little bit better. Blend them. Just real gently. There we go. Just goes from light into dark without any sort of like harsh transitions. That's what we're kind of going for. We're going for no hard transitions. So it's a natural kind of fade into the darker areas. Now we want to use black. But not black, we're going to use rubber black. Favorite black to use for me. It's more like an ashy black or a very, very dark gray black, or I don't know. It's just not black, and this is why I really like it. Yeah, 2 drops. I'm gonna use the brush to and you kind of want to remember the color that you last used. So this is probably the color that we're gonna end it with. Need to darken it more. Oh. Now, here's the spot where I messed up. Alright, so, and I'm just gonna see if I can kinda fix that little mistake here by using a wet brush. And I'm just going over that mistake area where the paint, where I accidentally sprayed it on too harsh, and the water is gonna help me blend that in a little bit better. So yeah, that's the downside of doing things as like a tutorial, and I got one shot at this. I can't go back in and reset the thing. I'm just doing this live on camera, so if I make a mistake, it's there. Can't go back and push the reset button. If the mistake is there, it's there. But this is a good way to kind of fix that. Using the air from the airbrush to kind of help that dry. And now we fixed that mistake. It's a little bit darker, but that's okay. That's exactly what I want in the back to kind of make that look natural. There we go. Now, obviously this is not movie accurate. Just to be honest, it's not movie accurate, so what I'm gonna do now, I'm just gonna add an unexpected color. I have no idea if it's gonna work, but I've done it before. So now don't get hung up on the colors that I use right now. This is just, I'm just picking what I think would look cool. You can do this, you could do these techniques with any color that you want. You don't have to go the route. You don't have to pick similar colors like I did, like me. It's just, this is a test piece. This is not to show off colors. This is to show off techniques. So don't get hung up on the colors I used. Just, you know, but these videos are not for screen accurate recreations of the Predator. This is just to kind of show you the technique of painting Predator skin, or one technique that you could use to. What I'm doing right now, I took a golden brown and I'm gonna spray it over the darker areas, and it's gonna make the lighter spots a little bit more vibrant, and it's gonna help me blend those colors a little bit better. I don't know how to explain what I'm doing, but it's just, it's like a transitional color between light and dark. You want, sometimes you want a third color to kind of help you make that transition. So you can see, whoa, holy moly. The camera is, oh, the camera always does this with this color, always with the golden brown. It makes it jump out, so it's not that vibrant, not that bright in real life. The camera is doing that. But it kind of does kind of help with what I'm trying to explain. So you see the dark and then it goes into light, but that golden brown kind of helps me make that transition. And it's like nature thought about the separation or something like that. I don't know how to explain it, but first of all, it's not that bright with the naked eye, so don't get alarmed. The camera is just making that way too bright. The camera is making the entire thing way too bright. By the way, it's also um, kind of having trouble with the shadows. It's making that way more defined than it really is. Also in the back, but yeah, um, that color is just gonna help me transition from dark to light. It is also going to help me when I'm gonna put down the dot patterns. It's gonna help me kind of uh, make the dot patterns blend a little bit better into the skin. Just I think I can blend it now. I'll just do the blending right now. It's gonna be a long video anyways. Might as well go all the way. You gotta remember, guys. The camera is sometimes having trouble with certain colors. Um, I am using two different cameras, and even though they are exactly the same type, they have different set. They're set up the exact same way. The settings are exact same way. The lenses are the exact same. It's just the one is on the other side, so they're opposite of each other, and light hits them differently, so they might translate colors differently. I'm still kind of working on my lighting and my color settings on the software that I use to kind of fix that. But when I look at this with the naked eye, um, the that orangey yellow, I don't see that. I see a perfectly blended transition, but because the camera picks that up for some reason way too much, I don't know why it does that. For example, here is the exact same thing. I see a perfectly blended transition, and the camera makes that look orangey yellow. That spot right there on the camera, uh, I see it, but it's not. It's not like it doesn't look like that. So um, I don't know. Sometimes the camera, I don't. It's a lighting issue. I don't know how to kind of fix that right now, but it'll just be trial and error and find my kind of way to do it. But just remember that when you um, look at photos, look at videos, what the camera does is it translates the color. It's not a direct one-to-one representation. The camera does not record what we see with the naked eye. So it's affected by light. It's affected by all sorts of things. So shadows, obviously. Um, so even the focus, the autofocus of the camera, is affected by shadows and light. So when it's not getting to not when it's not getting enough light, it won't autofocus correctly and stuff like that. So that is just dealing with recording video. Unless I put down a $1,000 camera, I cannot do that. I work with what I got. But that's just a fact of life when you're making videos, and that also goes for just photographs. Photographs aren't always an accurate representation of what the final thing is going to be. Um, when you're looking at something with with your own eyes, it just looks completely different than what you're seeing on the video or on the photograph. That's why, for example, if you have like a statue company that's selling a certain product, and you see that product on a video on or on a photograph, and then you actually get to see it with your own eyes, the paint job looks different, the finish looks different, and it's just that's just how these things work. A photograph might make things look worse, or it might enhance something. So that's just a disclaimer that I want to put on here, is that um, I try my best to get my cameras to um, represent what I'm painting as best as I can, but I'm not always successful. So, just a disclaimer, guys. Keep that in mind when you watch my videos. Is that sometimes you think like, "Whoa, what the hell is that?" And it doesn't actually look like that. It's just the camera just plays tricks on us. All right. See, the color for from this camera is completely different than the one that it than the other one. So this camera is making that look way less worse. See how funny that is? It still has the same issue with this color. It still brings out this color way more than it should, but it's less than the other one. So, but they're the exact same cameras. Their settings are exactly the same thing. Just light hits this camera differently than the other one. That's kind of affecting how it comes out. But if I put too much light above me, it just it just fades out all the color. It's not. I can show you guys what's gonna happen if I put down more light. Um, does it actually do? Then you get like a really washed out representation, which makes things look way brighter than they are. And if I put down even more color or a more light, so yeah, it's a constant struggle between how much light I should use, how I should position a light. And now it's see the autofocus is affected by my shadow, so it's a constant kind of struggle to work with the cameras. So yeah, all right, we're gonna blend it all together. That's what we were gonna do. And I'm gonna take a sip of my drink. And just a hint that I would like to give you um, is experiment with the different mediums. For example, the airbrush flow improver by Vallejo does a really good job. Um, the AK interactive acrylic thinner um, does a really good job. But experiment with what works for your type of paint. Different brands react differently to one another. So not every brand is going to react the same. You just want to be aware of that and experiment a little bit. All right. So what I'm gonna do now? There we go. Real gentle. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna spray it at a distance, and we're just gonna spray that. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna blend everything together, hopefully, if I do it correctly. No rush. blend the shadows. Now you can already see the effect of the blending. Alright. So now it's blended in very well. And you can still see everything that we've done. You can see the shadows. You can see the different colors that I did in the first tutorial. You can see all those colors. You can still see the green. You can see a little bit of bluish coming through. You can see the yellow. You can see the sand color. You can see the pink. Everything is still visible, but the blending also buried the veins. I think they're still a little bit too visible for my liking, so I might just tone it down a little bit more. Just don't overdo it. Let's just basically think that is perfect. Yeah, that is perfect. Maybe on this side a little bit, blend it a little bit better. There we go. Bury it a little bit more. So now what I want to do, before we finish it off, I want to do one more thing, and that is I want to add a little bit of lighter color to the most raised areas. Those are just the muscle packs that he has. In order to make that lighter, I'm going to use the same color I used to blend everything, and then I'm going to use ivory. Most of the time I use ivory because it flows a little bit better than the white. I don't know what it is about white, but white is always very chalky or something like that. I don't know why, but I've heard that before from other painters as well, that they don't like straight up white. So that's why I kind of use ivory. So, like I said, the shadows are subtle, but they're still there. You can see all the muscle definition a lot better. The shadows are still there, but they're way more subtle than they were, and that's exactly what we want. Now, you can use different colors for shadows. It's whatever you kind of prefer to do. I just picked this color to experiment with, but it worked out really well. I'm very satisfied with this. This is something. This is cool. It's starting to look like part of a complete statue, basically. And that's basically how you wanna paint all your kind of test pieces. Is just paint them up like they're real pieces. And when I'm done with this kind of tutorial series, I'm probably gonna strip it of paint and start all over again. Start new techniques or a different color combination, or You just want to take the top part. It's going to be real subtle. All right. So we. Oh, what the hell? Is that a reflection or? Oh, okay. Come on. Here we go. So we add a little bit of a lighter color. And one thing I want to do, and then it's a complete wrap. Now remember that you don't have to follow my particular kind of order in which I do things. You can do the lighter color first, then the shadows. You can do the veins after or before. It doesn't really matter. Just know that you finish certain steps before you start the blending of it all. That's why I start with the veins and then I do the rest. The veins are always kind of like the first step after the base skin color, basically. Because it would make sense for them to be less visible where there is shadow. So I want the shadow on top of the veins, basically. That's kind of like my thought process behind that. Alright, so the last step is one more layer, that misted on layer. To blend in everything together. That's all. That is all I am looking for. And you can already see from the light that's being reflected that the packs are shining now. They reflect a little bit of light. So that is exactly what we want. And all the shadows define the muscles. They're not overly dark. They're not over exaggerated, which I don't like. I like subtle shadows, subtle details. Now, off camera, I'm gonna varnish this. I'm gonna let this sit in its entirety until tomorrow, and then tomorrow I'm gonna varnish it. Don't ask me why. That's just what my working process. I don't like to apply varnish right after I paint it. There's maybe it's only in my mind, but I let it harden out. I let it sit for until the next day for hours and hours. So probably 12 to 18 hours or something like that. And then I'm gonna apply the varnish. Don't ask me why I do that. Some people apply varnish right after the paint. I don't do that. I don't want to reactivate anything. I want to keep it like this and then apply the varnish. I don't know if that's something that makes sense or if it doesn't make sense. I don't know, but I just it, I remember varnishing a certain project, and then in, it would reactivate paint, and then it would smear different, different colors into one another. It would blend very well, but it would completely change the effect I was going for. I don't know if that's a uh, you have to let paint harden out or something like that, or if it's like the varnish that does that, or I don't know why, but that's basically ever since I've seen that happen. I was like, I'm gonna varnish it the next day. I'm not in a rush. Um, for every project, take your time. And right now, I'm only doing a torso. Normally, there would be arms attached to it, there would be legs attached to it. You would have a face that you have to paint in the same color scheme. So you're already kind of working multiple days on a project. So having to wait until something is dry, that's not really an issue for me. You can always, if you're kind of, if you want to, you know, you're you're on a roll and you want to paint, start two projects, and then you have them dry and varnish on a different day. That way you can continue on working on your other project while the other one is kind of varnishing and drying. Varnish, I always let varnish sit for at least 24 hours. Also, don't ask me why. Even if the varnish says it's quick drying, I let it harden out. I let it sit. Um, so at least 24 hours. If you're in a very, if your environment has a lot of moisture in the air, go for 48. I don't know if that makes sense. That's just what I have in my head, is that works for me, and it's kind of, yeah, that's kind of what I do. We and that's kind of funny because now the camera has a lot of trouble showing what we've done. We've done the shadows, which are, for me, maybe I should just change the position on the camera. There we go. We Come on, don't fucking play with me now. All right, we done the shadows. We done the we brighten up the most raised areas, which are now light. We added the darker spots in the back, and we used the transitional color from dark to light to kind of help us make that blend a little bit better. Um, and then we kind of brought it all together by misting the kind of like the final kind of color that I was going for. And I think if I turn it around, you can see a lot of yellow in there. I can definitely see that with the naked eye, but the camera is making that a little bit more brighter than it really is. So, like I said before, don't let the camera kind of fool you on that. But all the other work that we've done in the previous kind of tutorials is still there. I can definitely see all the colors that I blended into the skin, and the varnish is hopefully going to help out bring some of that even more to the foreground. So that's the magic of a good varnish, is that it helps you kind of define certain colors a little bit better. Uh, and like the veining is buried. Um, I I'm happy with it. Maybe I should have gone with a more softer blue to make it a little bit less obvious, but um, I like it. It's not that I don't like it. So maybe next time I'm going with a lighter blue or a softer blue, maybe a pastel blue, to make them a little bit less obvious, but it still looks good. Um, yeah, and now we're seeing it a little bit from the top, and you could see the shadows a lot better now that you're seeing it from the top. You can see all the work that we've done a lot better. Nice. Yeah, maybe that's the trick. Put the camera higher up, maybe get a top-down perspective, basically. But yeah, you can see the shadows a lot better now. You can see the lighter spots on the muscles a lot better. Still not 100% accurate representation of what I'm seeing with the naked eye, but like I said, lighting issues, color translation issues within the camera. Yeah, yeah, I'm very happy with it. Um, the netting is an issue. Um, you have to take into account that there's still netting that's around his body, so it might interfere with the techniques that you're using. For example, you can see here the netting makes that look a lot more messy than it really is, but that's because I had to fix up an area and the netting isn't it was a part of that. So, but the skin is perfect. All right, next video is going to be the dot pattern, and that is going to be an experiment all by itself. I'm not very confident in my abilities to do spot patterns the right way, but we are going to try and see how that turns out. But that is for next video. If you like my videos, if you like the channel, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I would really appreciate the support. Thank you for watching. Sorry it turned out to be such a long video, but hey, that's what it turned out to be. Alright guys, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next video.